What's going on, guys? It's Jared. Doing a first test print with the Orbiter Extruder. I will preface and say that I'm missing a few parts that are coming in. Carbon fiber shafts is one of those, so I'm actually using printed 8mm shaft, which is a little, what's the word I'm looking for? Not round. It was printed laying down, so there is a little bit of oblongness to it. So somebody mentioned earlier on one of the demo videos I had, the spring was kind of popping out as it goes. That's just the Voron gears adjusting themselves to the non-circular shaft that's going through there. So what I will say so far is that it does seem to work pretty well. I did have to run the gears quite a few times. I also did print the gears in PETG. That's the only PETG parts on here. Is the planetary gears that's actually inside the green housing on the backside. I did actually have to run those around quite a few times before the action was smooth. So as of right now, everything seems to be working okay, as you can tell from the test print here. I did dial in the steps per millimeter, which was pretty close to my initial estimate of the 7.5 to 1 ratio, and then just some minor tweaking from there. So I just picked a small file that I had already had for printing here. This is actually the Nimble version 2 direct drive housing adapter, shaft adapter, and square shaft. So these parts will not be used, but I did want a quick demo print. So this print runs about 30 minutes. I am currently printing in Voron red from KVP, and everything seems to be going pretty smoothly so far. Ignore my cluster wires. It's been a bit of a hodgepodge, just trying to get things to work. I did have a broken wire or two, and instead of rewiring the whole printer, because I am going to redo the electronics enclosure, I just decided to go ahead and make do, if you will. So you can see what we got going here. This little stepper is 80 grams. I believe it was 83 grams. I have not weighed the full tool head yet. I will be doing that at some point in the near future once I get everything kind of adjusted and working well. I would also like to wait until I get the carbon fiber shafts in, but I'll probably go ahead and weigh them just to get the difference between the two. I am using 5mm steel shafts for the planetary gear set internally, so that's what the actual gears are riding on, a bearing and then a 5mm shaft. So those will be carbon fiber. I don't think it's going to make that much difference. They're only 8mm long, but it will still be heavier than the carbon fiber will be. So another thing to note is that from the standard Hotend setups, the Hotend on this setup is actually flipped 180 degrees, which puts the nozzle closer to the front, which is, in my opinion, a benefit. The closer the nozzle is to the front, the less you have to get close to the front to get to the front of the bed, if that makes sense. Since the nozzle is, we'll call it 10mm, I don't know the exact measurements, but since it's 10mm closer to the front, you're actually going to be 10mm further away from the front plexi. So I know some people, even with the 40-20 fan, have not been able to make it work. This way it will actually give you a little bit of extra clearance, but it does take some of that away from the backside. So if you're used to the other setup, you will actually have to adjust your bed forward a little bit and adjust your Z-end stop. So don't just print the parts and then go to town, because you probably will crash the print head. So my advice would be to get everything aligned ahead of time. So, but I'll let the extruder speak for itself. It does have dual Voron gears, planetary 7.5 to 1 gear ratio. This is running at, I believe I've got it at 1.2 amps right now, just to give it a little extra oomph. This stepper is rated for 1.8 amps. I tried running it at 0.8 and 1, but there's still a little bit of friction in the gears because the gears don't mesh perfectly, which I do have some printed sets out of glass fiber reinforced nylon, as well as an MJF housing. So once those get here, that should also help. But for now, I just kind of bumped up the amperage a little bit to give it a little extra to get through any little hiccups that it's got. So, but with what we can see so far, I know it's not focusing on the print very well. You'll have to give me a minute to see if I can fix that a little. So, and I will say this is on a Dragon high flow hot end with a 0.6 millimeter plated copper nozzle. This is my daily print setup, if you will. I do like the 0.6 millimeter nozzle over the 0.4. It's quicker on prints, gives you a little bit of extra speed if you're just trying to do like a draft print. And so long as you don't have any super fine details, it will print pretty well for most things. So let's see if I can get a little closer here. So far seems to be going pretty good. Like I say, it is the first print with this setup, but so far I'm impressed. So I am using the same settings I was using for my direct drive Nimble version 2. So those will need to be tweaked a little bit, I'm sure. I don't even know what the retraction speed and de-retract speeds are at this point. But it seems to be functioning okay with what it's got. I probably won't push this too hard until I get the carbon fiber shafts and get this thing 100%. And same goes for the glass fiber nylon gears and the MJF housing, just so that everything's meshed together nicely and working as it's supposed to be. So yeah, I'll put a couple of pictures of the final print up once it's done, and looking forward to seeing what it does. If you got any questions or comments, you can ask me on Discord. Username is JaredC01. Otherwise, add them on YouTube. So thanks, guys and girls. We'll see you later. Have a good one.